Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Maria, for getting us started. And as everyone comes in, it's good to see Jessica and Emily, and Sue and Bonnie and Sally and Francis and Marla. There's Sheila and Steve, Ed and Kauai. There's Jan, Sheila, another Jan. There's Emily and Robin and Judith and Arkansas and Sandy and Lynn, Sasha. There's Ben coming around. I don't see Kelly Jean or Brahman or Mary Beth, but they're there. And Judy Myers coming in. There's Shannon. It's interesting to say the names, isn't it? They can be, it's so warm to see everyone, but it's wonderful to say the names as they come. There's Ryan popped in over there. And here comes Pam also. So people will continue to come and keep, as you sit, let yourself say their names in your head, just silently as they come. Welcome them. As we continue to sit together, I'd like to invite your attention in certain ways, a bit differently than just sitting in zazen, but also not different. If you would like to, I would suggest that you, as you continue to sit in an upright, dignified way and attending to your posture and your breath, let your awareness also rest on your hands, whether you are holding a mudra or just resting in them in your lap or in your legs, wherever they are. And are you able to, through your sensations of actually feeling your hands and thinking about your hands, you don't have to look at them. Can you appreciate the perfection, the completeness of your hands, their utility, their beauty, the amazement of them? Not as special. They are human fleshy hands. There might be soft palm, or there may be calluses. There are maybe spots with age, if you have lived long enough to accumulate these spots. Maybe some arthritis, but maybe they're long and flexible, maybe warm or cool. You might have adorned your fingernails in some way, maybe some jewelry. In some ways, nothing special, and yet beautiful and perfect and whole, with everything that's there just in your hands. Even in their ordinariness, it's as if they could emanate a great light, light. And without moving through every single part of your body, you could imagine the same thing about the lovely extension of each arm, the complexity of the articulation of joints, and those that work well, those that don't, but still it's somewhat of a miracle. And if we took the time, we could move through your entire body. And you would find places, probably, a lot of us, where there are persistent or troublesome spots and other aspects of your body that you appreciate greatly. Maybe pieces of your body that have been taken away through surgeries or an illness, but still perfect, still whole. This is your little corner of the universe. This is the seat of your consciousness, your awareness, manifesting in this body, this aliveness right now. Such a miracle. looking out, peering out, feeling, sensing, smelling, tasting, touching out into the world. This little universe within the full universe, the appearance of this and that, and yet we know it's one. But appreciating your uniqueness, your beauty, feeling the history, the impact of your whole life on this body. What you carry, what you shed. And like an object, and I don't mean that in a cold or negative way, it's precious. Or like a space, like an altar, it's precious. Like a room that you've taken care of, it's spacious and lovely. Just appreciating this embodied space from which you meet the world. You're a corner of the universe. In just a moment, when the bell rings, we will offer our voices, another beautiful part of this body, part of this little corner of the universe. You're speaking out from your spot. And acknowledging the boundlessness and yet the immanence of your body as you wear the teachings. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Well, there's a lot going on, isn't there, in this world? A lot of coming and going, and things that are challenging and exciting and difficult and perplexing. We know that in the United States, it's a big week up until next Tuesday, but it affects everyone all over the world. And one of the things I've been thinking about this week and preparing to meet with you so we can share some practice times together is what is our sphere of influence? It seems so paltry, doesn't it? Sometimes what we can actually influence when the world feels so overwhelming with the immensity of all the things that are unfolding around us. There's so much need and so much suffering, so much loss, so much uncertainty, so much fear, and also so much generosity and care and beauty. It's everything. But as we, live our lives in our spot, we wonder what sort of influence we might have, and not only for ourselves and our loved ones and our family and friends, our community and the world at large. We have our vows and we have our practice, of course, and the Bodhisattva vow is our primary orientation to practice in life. But doesn't it seem sometimes like it sounds like a really great idea, but in the face of the world, it's like, oh man. But this is our primary orientation. The four vows appear, impossible to actualize or complete. We talk about this quite a bit, but they do offer us a way to always consistently orient ourselves, always a way to offer ourselves in the service of awakening, seeing through all delusions as they inevitably arise, making use of every challenge and opportunity to shine, to embody awakening, to turn towards whoever's in front of us, including ourselves, and to embody the way of awakening as best we can, imperfectly. But I thought about reflecting on our body in a very precise way today, and I started with hands because they're so intimate. I don't know about you, but hands are very intimate. And no matter how they are, with the arthritis in my wrist and the skin on the back that looks like my grandmother, and these things. There's this is my manifest universe here, into which I meet the world. And I was reminded of a line which I've actually erroneously attributed to the Diamond Sutras from the Lotus Sutra. A line that was used in the title of a book that's out of print, actually, this little book, to shine one corner of the world. There's two books now. Zen is right here, Zen is right now, which have these small, vignettes of Suzuki Roshi. But I love that line. It's like I said, it's from the Lotus Sutra, and Shakyamuni Buddha spoke it. It's translated variously. Suzuki Roshi used to refer to it in his talks. It's usually translated to light up one corner. To light up one corner. Pardon me. And that's why I was suggesting we think about this corner, to light up this corner, our small little piece of the world. Pardon me. Here's a quote from one of Suzuki Roshi's talks. He says, "We say to shine one corner of the world, just one corner. If you shine one corner, then people around you will feel better. You will always feel as if you're carrying an umbrella to protect people from heat or rain. It's it's shaped in a way that's just like simple kindness to shine one corner of the world to take care of this. Then people around you will feel better. It's like, that's the whole of the Bodhisattva vow right there. You'll always have a feeling that you're carrying an umbrella to protect people from the heat or rain. And Suzuki Roshi, would use words in an unusual way sometimes, English words. Um, and in the a little more classical translation from the Lotus Sutra, it says to light up one corner of the world, to bring illumination, to enlighten, to lighten up. But Suzuki Roshi used the word shine or shine. Um, and when I was looking at these translations and looking at some of the history, David Chadwick, who keeps the archives of Suzuki Roshi's work, there was a little PS at the end of this section from him. And it says, I hope you enjoy the wisdom of Suzuki Roshi. And listen to the sentence. I hope you enjoy the wisdom of Suzuki Roshi. He had great confidence in yours. He had great confidence in your wisdom. So I hope you enjoy it. And I thought when I read that, because I'd not seen it before, that David had put it in there. And I have a lot of confidence in yours too. So do I, even in the midst of all our uncertainty and anxiety. Um, and I'm here. I show up on the days I can show up, doing what I can do in this small venue to light up, to light things up, to shine, to polish one corner of the universe, our shared, precious, beautiful, terrible world. And in the process, it's like when I was asking us to focus on our hands, we feel the beauty and the magic of them, but also the limitations. There's certain things I can't do now, which is irritating and humiliating to me, not being able to turn, like open the lid because, ow, it's happened to you some of you that are older. This is just an old thing, you get that kind of, and it's tough to face our limitations. That's a small thing. But when we look at the world and think about what we want for the world, our limitations, our impotence is a tough thing to face. And it's actually very much part of our spiritual practice and why we have spiritual practices. Because we are small, everyday, ordinary, conditioned selves, the thing we think of as a self, will never, ever reach a point of having solved every problem, saved every person, resolved every conflict, answered every question, and purified our mind and body completely. That will never happen. I'm sorry to tell you. And our dedicated spiritual practices will not complete these unending challenges either. It's not like, oh, well, I feel limited, but if I wake up, then they'll all be, no, this is the nature of things. But we can shine one corner. We can light up our lives. And in the bargain, light up those around us. As Suzuki Roshi said, if you shine one corner, then people around you will feel better. You'll always feel like you're carrying an umbrella to protect people from heat and rain. We can do that. And that's what makes a difference. And when we do it together, we feel the difference. these recent retreats that so many of you have been in, we feel what it's like to practice together. There's a humility in it and a great joy. The humility of, gosh, I can only do this, but when all of us do this together, something magical happens. In the middle of an often used poem that many of us have used in our teaching, not just me, Accepting This by Mark Nepo, it's a one we all know pretty much. He echoes this right in the middle of the poem. I'm not going to read the whole poem, but in the middle, he says, my efforts now turn from trying to outrun suffering to accepting love wherever I can find it. Stripped of causes and plans and things to strive for. In other words, when we reach our limitations, I've discovered everything I could need or ask for is right here in flawed abundance. In flawed abundance. And then he reminds us of what's possible when we light up one corner. He says we cannot eliminate hunger, but we can feed each other. We cannot eliminate loneliness, but we can hold each other. We cannot eliminate pain, but we can live a life of compassion. So these are those reminders. The first noble truth will always be the first noble truth. Conditioned existence brings with it a certain kind of dissatisfaction and suffering. And yet, we can light up one corner. We can polish one corner. We can shine one corner of the universe. And Suzuki Roshi had great confidence in us, and I have great confidence in you. At the end of the poem, by the way, Martin Nepo's poem, he says, there's nothing to do and nowhere to go. Accepting this, we can do everything and go anywhere. So he does talk about that juxtaposition of our limitations and our immensity all at the same time. And unless you think it's different for people who are senior, a student one time asked Suzuki, he says, does a Zen master suffer in a different way than his students suffer? Because I get projections all the time, as you can imagine. Not that I'm a Zen master, but does a Zen master suffer in a different way than his students suffer? And Suzuki said, in the same way. If not, I don't think he's so good. I don't think he's good enough. One of the hardest things about practice is discovering and then accepting what our practice will not do. And I'm not trying to be discouraging here at all. Only by deeply, 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 deeply accepting what practice will not do. And when we let go of all of our bargaining and negotiating and our secret deals on the side, hedging our bets, waiting for a better deal later, only then can we actually touch on and begin to embody the beautiful, abundant, clear space, which is always there in the suffering. We find the shining, we find the light, we find what's polished there. This is the shining corner that opens. And the lighting up, the polished corner in the world of suffering. In the midst of the world of suffering. And it's a kind of freedom from the, well, I don't think it's too strong to say, like the tyranny of desire for purification and perfection. As if there's some sort of entitlement, like, well, I could be released, and allows us to more fully embody then the steady effort of practice. This is what opens the space of immense freedom. And it opens a space of non-personal love, which can blossom as our actual lives. But in order to do that, we have to polish our one corner. Not to make a Buddha, but to take care of the world and light it up with our care so we can all shine. There's one old ancestor story about this, which many of you also know. It's very common, but I want to bring it back in this reflection today. And it's the old story of Nangaku and Baso. Um, Nangaku is the teacher, and he was in his hut, and Baso stood up and greeted him when he arrived, and Nangaku said, what have you been doing? And Baso said, well, I've been doing zazen consistently, nothing but zazen. And Nangaku then said, well, why are you doing that? Why are you continuing to sit zazen all the time? And Baso said, well, I'm sitting zazen in order to become a Buddha. And at that point, Nangaku reached over and picked up a broken ceiling tile that hanging around somewhere, and he began to start to polish it, this tile. And Basho watched him and said, what are you doing? And Nangaku said, well, I'm polishing this tile. And Baso said, well, why are you doing that? And he said, oh, I'm making a mirror. And Baso said, well, how can you make a mirror by polishing a roof tile? And Nangaku said, how can you become a Buddha by sitting zazen? It's a very common story that told in our tradition, and it's at the heart of Soto practice, of course. It's, in the story, we find the dedicated student committed to zazen like he's been encouraged to do. And you find the teacher who cares for the student deeply, loves the student, and takes an opportunity, sees an opportunity to nudge him further in his practice. And then we have the unfolding of the liberating intimacy. What happens in the mix? The dynamic tension in which awakening begins to open up. And we also have, in the last two statements in the story, we have the two key questions, which are the basis of Soto Zen practice. How can you expect to awaken through individual effort and practice when that's actually your true nature? How can you become a Buddha by sitting zazen? It's not an instrumental activity. These are the basic questions. And the traditional view, of course, and the way this story is often looked at in a more traditional way is that Buddha nature is always and already present. It's the suchness of our existence, an expression of our unconditioned nature, our true nature. These are words that fail to talk about what isn't actually a thing. And no amount of effort can create nor destroy the suchness of things, the unconditioned, because no conditions could influence it. It's the reality of each thing. We can't create the fullness of existence by individual effort. But you can express this nature and realize it and celebrate its completeness. And that's the practice of zazen. So this was the tension within the dialogue that Baso was invited to by his teacher. And this is the teachings that we come back to in so many different ways. But Dogen, of course, when he comments on this, he does the thing that Dogen always does. He turns it around backwards. And it's like, what? He's the one that always throws the curveball because he didn't focus on the outcome. He focuses on the polishing. The polishing of the tile itself is a complete enactment of polishing. There's nothing missing. The polishing of the mirror, cleaning of the mirror, is a complete enactment of polishing and cleaning. And the enactment of whatever one does wholeheartedly, the wholehearted offering of ourselves to our lives, to our little corner of the world, that's what lights up the universe. No matter if our activities are grand and beautiful or simple and destined to be non-productive, in an ordinary sense, it's the effort, it's the calling ourselves forward to fullness in the moment of our activity that makes a difference, not the outcome. And we practice that all the time during retreat or in temple training. I experienced it a lot, where the effort of just cleaning, washing the dishes or cleaning the floors, the wholehearted effort of bowing, walking, sitting, offering incense, taking care of the altar, everything is the result of the wholehearted activity of involvement, not you. In fact, when you end a work period in the temple or in a retreat, when the bell rings or the clappers, you stop, even if you haven't finished. And it's irritating to a lot of people. Wait a minute, I haven't, let me just, so I can finish. But that's the teaching. It's not the finishing. It's the wholehearted effort. And when something else happens, you respond to that. That's a different way of life. It seems weird and it shapes you differently. And to live life in this way, to respond this way, to offer yourself to the activity is an expression of who and what you are, who and what the moment is. And it sets aside the difference we usually hold between like our ordinary mind and Buddha nature or awakening. This is what lights up the corner. Because in this very act of sitting and appreciating and being, practice and enlightenment become one thing. And it's hard to talk about, but I hope you're getting a sense of this. And the action itself of polishing, the realization of Buddha and the actualization of the mirror, these become what they are through our participation and engagement. I don't know if that makes any sense, but our participation and engagement in each moment brings forward the reality that's always completely there. So Baso, when he hears Nangaku, when he hears his teacher say, how can you become a Buddha by practicing Zazen? How can you make a mirror polishing a tile? That's his lighting up. That's his polishing. That's his lighting up this corner. And Baso has a great awakening. He does awaken at that point, which is the end of these stories always, they have a great awakening. Well, what does he do after that? That's not the end of the story. He sits down and continues to practice Zazen. Like he said, he continues to polish the tile. He continues to polish the mirror. So this opens it up further, turns it around further. So Dogen, when he kind of flips it, he reminds us that Nangaku is cautioning his student Baso against waiting for realization. But he's not cautioning against continuing Zazen practice. Continue practice, but it's already here, dude. It's not, don't wait. So for Dogen, becoming a Buddha by sitting in meditation is impossible because Buddhahood is not the end result. Buddhahood is the starting point. Buddhahood is the starting point. Buddhahood is the starting point of spiritual practice. Accepting the light inside and then bringing it forward and lighting up one corner of the world. So Dogen points to the dynamic activity of practice, polishing, not some result. In fact, there's, Dogen, his words are so strange. Here's how he ends his commentary. He says, clearly, in truth, when polishing a tile becomes a mirror, Baso becomes Buddha. When Baso becomes Buddha, Baso immediately becomes Baso. When Baso becomes Baso, Zazen immediately becomes Zazen. It's that strange way that Dogen talks about it's all completely here and everything is shining and reflecting everything else fully, completely all the time. To polish one corner of the world, you become the whole world, which is nothing but the embodiment of a Buddha. When your corner of the world is lit up and Buddha is seen there, then you become you. When you are you, Buddha is Buddha. You are the light of the world, emanating from this little corner of the universe, polishing, offering, receiving, sitting, living, and dying. My sphere of influence in this big world is super limited. So is yours. But our influence within this sphere is unlimited. I am a limited human and a boundless being. And this is the way that boundlessness and form show up in human life. I saw that look on your face, Jessica, like it was a mic drop or something there at the end. So let's stop there and see if people they want to light up other little corners of your universe here. It's a great line, isn't it? It really helps us. But then you can open it up, and there's so much there. Ben raised his hand. Did you walk away, Ben? Come back. There you are. Now we can hear you.
Am I unmuted?
There you are.
So I was smiling all the way through that, partly because Jessica's face is on my screen, and she was smiling too. There's so much in that. That's the first time I can ever say that about listening to a talk, because on one hand there was so much that landed, and on another hand, like, it's created more questions, which is new for me. That there's more questions coming to the fore. So
that tells me I'm doing my job. So that's good.
Okay, good. And it feels like ping pong balls in a goldfish bowl. Like when you push them down, they just keep popping back up. That's how it feels in terms of the questions. But the one thing that I'm curious about is, you mentioned confidence, and it's a kind of a buzzword in my work in particular. So often when coaches come to me, they will make the assumption to say, you need to work with him or her because they lack confidence. They need more confidence.
Right.
And it seems to me like, over my time as working as a performance psych, that we've objectified confidence. Like, people have it 1 minute and then they lose it the next, like a set of keys that we're kind of looking for to kind of search out. And so I've explored that quite a bit in my work. And I was just wondering what you meant by, you have confidence in us. And Suzuki Roshi has confidence in our wisdom. And I just wondered if you could say a little bit more about what you mean by that, please.
Yeah, it won't be very helpful in your work.
Okay, that's right.
The confidence I'm talking about, this sounds weird, in you, just says that I love you.
Oh.
And maybe that seems like a leap. It's not confidence as in that sort of fit. There's a resilience, but also it tips over into arrogance and entitlement and strength.
Yeah.
And this is something you've wrestled with, and this in your work.
Yes.
And it's not that you don't want to have some confidence, especially if you're in a performance world. You want to have the confidence to, like, when I watch the Olympics, I think, how the hell did they ever get up and do that? I would be shaking. You need a certain confidence, but that there's a pathological edge to it. But if, as a coach, you look someone in the eye and you say, I love working with you. I love the years we spent together. I love the way you perform the thing. Let's enjoy it. I know that's but the confidence is in that everything is going to be okay between our hearts. You have what it takes. I know you have what it takes.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of a love.
Yes. Yeah. There's so much I could say to that in response, and I won't, but that's really, really useful and helpful that you responded in that way. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Good. That's my hope. But another model that I'll use that just to if if a 5-year-old boy comes up to you and he's a little, you can tell he's unsure, and you look at him and he can see in your eyes that you know that he's going to be okay, and you just take his hand, the
Mm.
look and the taking of the hand is the confidence.
Yeah.
Not convincing him of something or not
No.
showing how he feels. The way you look at him and when you take his hand, you show that you have confidence,
So it's that connection.
which says no matter what happens, our connection will not be broken.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I have confidence in.
Yeah.
Really great question for everybody here. And I'm sure your good
Thank you.
friend Jill will follow up on it now or something.
I'm sure she will.
Yeah. I say that, but see, not everybody knows that you're best mates, but
Yeah.
everybody knows.
Yeah. Well, we are. So
Yeah.
um, it's lovely to see you, Flint. And I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to kind of say hello during the evenings that we were at Lancaster, because that was really special for me
Yeah.
to be there. And I think my question, my curiosity is around being the recipient of the light.
Mhm.
So I woke up on the final morning of the retreat to lots of messages from neighbours and the police here in Sheffield, and it was really shocking and upsetting, and things had happened, and I needed to get home, and
You have a break
um,
in or something?
yeah, wasn't very nice,
Oh,
and um, oh, what's Trudy used the phrase on Monday, broken me, breaks us open. When we're the recipient of so much love and so much light. I got on that train coming home, not knowing what I was going to find. My home is really precious, and I know it's impermanent and all of those things, but not having a clue what I was going to find. But knowing that there were, I don't know, 50 odd people in the story holding me,
mhm.
it's
It's beyond measure. Huh?
it's way beyond measure. But then in comes this conditioned part that does something like, well, what have you done to deserve that? Or you haven't done enough to deserve that. Or um, you need to make sure you do something in return, or that absolutely sees it as some kind of currency of exchange. And I know that it's not, cognitively, I know that it's not that. And that causes me to sort of shrink back from it in some way. So what I'd love to know is how to let that part go, that conditioned part, and just because that knowing that that's always available, and it's not earned, or it's like that's it. But these other bits just, I
Yeah,
don't even
and
know if that's a well articulated question.
that's a very good question. And you know enough because of your experience to know that how do you let go of those bits that means you turn toward them. But what you just said is you can blend with and lose. So if you can unblend a little bit and step back and turn toward the parts that say, I don't deserve this. What should I do? How can I? You don't deserve it. It's not about deserving. You can't repay it. That's beyond measure. But that's a little harsh, you know? So for this part, it's like, oh, dear, come here. You know, I know you're worried about these things. Let's just sit and let it settle in a little bit. You know, you'll find your way. That's just the way I'm talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to turn toward the part. You can't just get rid of it. And you can't talk it out of those things, but you can meet them. And it's another form of love.
Mm. Thank you. And I feel I'm on the receiving end of, I'm the recipient of yet more because I know that stuff. I do that all the
Yeah,
time in my work, day in,
right.
day out. I've just been doing it, an hour before I met you.
And that's
But
why I
there's
said, I know you know this. I'm just reflecting it back.
yeah, exactly. And that's the mirror
Mm-hmm. Mirror,
that
that's what we
I
call it.
couldn't do for myself, and you've just done it for me.
And that's the reminder. You know, this is just a tiny bit. I have Sasha waiting here. One year, a good number of years ago, actually, a gift was given to me. I don't know if you were around then or not. On my 60th birthday, you know, for my travel to Switzerland,
Yeah.
gift was given. And then Aaron came with me. And then we were in the retreat in Switzerland. Aaron was in the retreat there in Chemin. And on the last day, the last inquiry, Aaron comes up and gets in the chair, my husband. And he says, all of this goodness has come, and I don't know how to, is exactly your question. I don't deserve it. It's too much. I don't know how to respond to it appropriately. And together we began to talk about what it's like to bear up under love, basically,
Mm.
which is
Mm.
kind of responsibility for the love,
Mm.
not to pay it back, but what it means to be responsible for receiving it and taking good care of it, like you do those flowers behind you. For as long as they last, you take care of them. And same with our love.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you for being such a beautiful mirror.
I keep polishing like everyone else. Sasha.
Hi. Well, I was about to lower my hand because I think um, I, well, what you just said a few minutes ago and responded, maybe answered my question. Um, and I knew this because I was able to inhale and exhale with ease. Because the last 25 or 30 minutes, I was finding my breath could not go, like I could not inhale more than like right here. It would stop right here, go back. So
What
it
was
was
that?
just a resistance to, not a resistance, but I think it was a combination of me thinking the perpetual striving of the nature of my nature. As I was listening to you, it was just fighting against us, like, well, that's me. I just could not, I tried to comprehend what you were saying intellectually, and right, and that's what it was. Like you were talking about ordinary, like, no, I want to be extraordinary. Participation trophy doesn't work. Give me the first place. I want to be the best and achieve the result. And waiting and waiting for you to say, okay, this is how you do it, and you were
Mm-hmm.
not going there. It's like, I think that was the energy that I had.
But you know what, Sasha, both of us have done that a lot. I've done a lot of accomplishment. So have you. And one of the reasons that we're here is because we realize it doesn't get us where we want to go. It's really useful to be successful because then you use it up. It's like, well, that didn't answer the question, actually. It falls apart. It's like ash.
It just doesn't fall apart for me. It just doesn't fall away.
Not yet. And so you have the anguish of the grief,
Right.
but do you feel the care of each person, of Ben, and Jill and me, as we just hold you in this and everyone else, because so many people have this edge. I do. And we get weary of it. It gets burdensome.
Exhausting.
It's exhausting. Yeah. How long did you manage to be retired?
3 months.
6 months.
Right. Yeah.
What you might do is, and you know how to do this work, in some of your meditation, or you're sitting or just taking a walk, you might turn towards that little boy and ask him, if he succeeds and gets all the medals and everything is good, then what will be different? And take it seriously. It's not a challenge to tell him it doesn't matter. What does he really want? What's he really waiting for? What's he really hoping for?
Yeah. I
Because
think just simply like you said, holding a hand, like you
yes,
mentioned it to Ben.
all those kids that you took care of all those years as a principal, they just they want you to look at them and say, let's shoot hoops, let's walk together. Let's just sit here. See, now the breath, move.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty with this. Okay. Well, let's recite our 4 practice principles together to end our day. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Light up your corner by just being yourself.
Thank you, Flint, and everybody for coming here today and shining up this corner of the world. It really does make a difference to each and every one of us here right now, and anyone that comes along and watches you as well. And if you'd like to make a difference in another way, you could offer Dana, because all of Appamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity, and however little or that you can offer, please go to appamada.org/contribute, and you'll find a place there to offer Dana to Flint and to all the programs that happen at Appamada. I think my glasses are sliding. Anyway, thank you all so much. And if you'd like to join me for a further 30 minutes, pop yourself into gallery view and I'll be with you in just a moment. But thank you all so much. I think we're straight now.